We're still deep in the process of outfitting our new Expedition aluminum sailboat. We've added some personal touches to make her feel more like home, and it's time for an exciting and essential upgrade when it comes to full-time cruising and off-grid living.
We can stop buying bottled water!
It's an important install, so let's dive in. The next little upgrade or modification that we made to the galley after the fridge install is this area, which is our spice rack area. These were already on the boat, so we just added this back on. And then we had picked up a bunch of these matching spice jars in Panama. They were like $12 for a set of 18, which I thought was a pretty good deal. And then we just picked up labels and used a chalk marker to label all of them. My favorite part is this area here, which is where we essentially added a whole other level using the Sylvie magnetic system. These are their magnetic spice jars, which you can see very, very strong magnetic hold on the lid here. There are two 25-centimeter metal strips underneath here. These are their magnetic spice mills that we use for salt and pepper, which come with the metal gel nano pads. So say you didn't want to stick them upside down, there's an adhesive on the back. You just peel it off, stick it on wherever you want it to stay, and the best part is they're reusable. So we haven't really gotten a lay of the land yet, like figuring out where everything will work for us the best on Jibsea 2. So it is nice, you just take them off, rinse them off with a little bit of water, and then you can just stick them wherever you like. There's no sticky residue or any of that gummy stuff that gets left behind. So we did also get a few of their glasses. Watch the magic. This is a big metal strip. These are their crystal beer glasses, which Travis is really excited about because he feels fancy when he drinks beer out of a glass. And then these are their crystal long drink glasses. But yeah, we just want to make sure we decide where we're going to be happy with sticking this, because this strip is 3M tape. So we'll have to figure out where works best. We did pick up some spare magnets and metal nano gel pads, and they come with a little adhesive that you can stick under your favorite mug or your bowl, anything for that matter. We are planning on sticking these inside and outside. We did also pick up their lamp, which is super cute. So far, it's been handy to have under our salon table because our freezer is located under it. If you are interested in getting your hands on any of the Sylvie magnetic system, we have a discount code for you, so you can save 10% off your purchase using our code Jibsea at checkout. Yeah, I love this. I think it looks so good now.
We can stop buying bottled water! We're not bottled water buying people. We have loved the taste of our water on board for the past few years with SeaWater Pro's water maker. It was the best tasting drinking water, and because of that, I think we had become like water tasting connoisseurs. We could just tell the slightest of difference. Like, it just made us more hypersensitive to taste of water, I guess. But yeah, we've had to buy bottled water because we tried for so long to drink the water that was coming out of the tap that we had filled from the dock hose, and we had a carbon filter in there. It still didn't take out whatever funky taste was in the hose water.
When we bought Jibsea 2, there was no working water maker on board that we wanted to keep, and we didn't have an installed water maker when we sailed from Panama up to the States. We did have a backup though. We had our SeaWater Pro mini portable water maker that we had as a backup just in case, but that whole passage we conserved water so well and didn't end up having to use it. And then once we got to Florida, we visited Mike and our friends over at SeaWater Pro and picked up this snazzy new system that we were so excited to install today. Well, Travis is going to install it, and we're going to share a little bit more about this system. It's pretty much the same system that we had on our previous boat. So it's a 2-membrane system where we can produce up to 40 gallons per hour. And it's on a 110 system, so we're going to be powering it with an external generator like we did before. We prefer the 110 system versus the 12-volt system because the production rate's just a lot higher. And with such big tankage on board Jibsea 2 and how frequently we use water, you guys all know that Travis loves to wash down the sails like during passage and keep the decks salt-free. We use a lot of water. We definitely need the higher production rate, so the 110 is our go-to, and that's what we picked up again.
The new thing about the system that we got this time around is that it is their new model, which is completely stainless steel.
Why we like SeaWater Pro and the way they've built their systems is it's a modular system. So you don't have to have one big space to shove your water maker into. Like you can install your pre-filter somewhere, you can install your feeder pump somewhere, and then just link it all together through various hoses and everything. The nice thing too is that they're not proprietary parts, so if you needed to replace the membrane, you can find those online anywhere in the world. Same with their pre-filter stuff, that's just your common 10-inch, versus some companies have their own stuff and then you gotta wait to buy just their product, and it could be a nightmare if you're somewhere else in the world. So anywhere in the world we can find a part in a pinch if we had to. But the other really awesome thing about SeaWater Pro is they get on their emails, their phone calls right away. So if we did have a problem, they can get a part to us right away. And that's how it's been in the past. And we love them. And it's been a tried and tested system for us over the last 4 years. We've used their water makers heavily.
Every 3 days.
Every 3 to 4 days, we'll run this thing for an hour and a half to 2 hours. And it's worked, you know. So I'm pretty happy about that. Now just looking at the system 3.5, 4 years later, I can tell that some of the stuff that I was kind of questioning, they fixed, like some of these fittings. And like their pre-filter housings look really good. They look easier to access the filters because you're going to be doing that all the time. And their fittings here, I like what they've done there. And these are bleedable filters, so it's really nice when you're trying to get all the air out. It's nice and easy to do that too. He's just come out with these stainless steel membrane housings and stainless steel end caps. I was really excited to give this a try. The membrane housing is just a beefier system, and it's very rare, but it has happened that a membrane housing can split. I've never heard of any of SeaWater Pro splitting, but I have heard of other ones splitting. But that's not the most common issue. What we had was when we replaced one of our membranes, the old end caps used to be aluminum with stainless rods that pinched them together, and they kind of seized together. Wasn't really a big deal. I was able to get one side or the other off to still get the membrane out, and if you really had to, you could cut the bar and still pop it out. But it's just something I noticed, that the metals reacted to each other. But now this is a full stainless system, so I just think it's gonna be even better. So we figured we'd give it a try.
We're going to be installing the water maker in our portside cabin, which we've designated this space for, and I think it's going to work really well there because we already have a through hull there, and there's a hose for the brine water. We've already installed the panel, which is super cool because the guys are so awesome.
So awesome.
They put our little custom Jibsea anchor. So the space that we have mapped out is going to be under the bed here, and I think it's all going to fit nicely.
What I like is this visual here. You can kind of look at the parts you got, look at this, and figure it out. And there's also a lot more instructions inside this manual as well. So you're going to have a through hull somewhere, and then you're going to go to a strainer, then to your feeder pump. That's going to go to a non-return valve, to your pre-filter, and then that's going to go to your high pressure pump, which is here. And then your high pressure pump, there's a valve that goes to the panel as well as the membranes. So what I'm going to do is dig into this, get everything situated, and then I'll kind of give you a little tour of what I did. Once you've got everything plumbed in, you need to connect power. So this is the feeder pump, and if you have a panel, you're going to want to have the switch going to the feeder pump. So then my panel's right here. So when I turn the feeder pump on, it's called boost pump in this case. So you'll be able to turn the boost pump on, and then you can turn your main pump on. But for the boost pump, you need to have a 12-volt power supply. And what you're going to do is cut this sort of OEM head off of the feeder pump, and you're going to connect negative to negative, and then the power side of the boost pump is going to go to the top of the breaker switch, and the power side of your 12-volt is going to go to the bottom of the breaker switch. So then when you turn that on, it connects power to the feeder pump, and whammo, you just want to cut that end off, expose the wires. You got a brown and blue. I'm going to take that the blue is power and the brown is ground or negative. Check that out. Okay, so there it is. I've got power in. This is to the boost pump, and then I've just connected the negatives together. This goes on the bottom side of the breaker switch, and this goes on the top. So when you flick the switch, you can join power. Pretty simple. So I can't show you that because it's kind of down in here, but literally you just connect top post, bottom post, and that's it. Next wiring install will be your 110 3-phase wire. That's the system we went with. I mounted our motor on a bulkhead this way, so I had to orientate the pump with the motor. It comes with a hole in the back of where you get all the cabling into, and then it comes with this little gland so to get that cable through. But I didn't like how that was, and I couldn't get the wire back there and all neat, so I just drilled a hole, or drilled a hole through the top cover for then me to run this just like that. So now my 110 wire. This wire I have ran through the boat and out to the back where we'll be plugging it into our generator. So stick it through the gland like that. And then down here you're gonna have 6 wires coming out of here. And what you want is T1, T8, and T3. They're all labeled here so you can easily see. And then the next is the other 3, which is T4, T5, and T2. You're going to have in your 3-phase wire a green, a black, and a white. The green mounts to the housing itself. You'll see a little ground earth screw right here. And then the black and white wire, it actually doesn't matter which one you connect to which of your 3 cables. That just means the motor is going to run clockwise or anti-clockwise, and it doesn't matter which way it runs, it'll still run the high pressure pump. And it says this in the book too, right there. So again, T3, T8, T1, those 3 wires are together. T2, T4, T5, those 3 wires together. It doesn't matter which wire you connect it to, black or white, white or black. It'll still run, and that's on the 110 60 hertz system. If you want to run this 230 or 220 to 240 volt 50 hertz, it's in the book. Wire it to that schematic. So I'm just going to double check that again. T2, T4, T5. T2, yep, perfect. Oh look, Steph's in the background.
I need a cough.
Here, wave. You're like perfectly in the background. Over my shoulder. Okay, so I'll cut this cable and I'll show you. What you're going to want to do next is have a jumper wire, I guess I call it. It's probably not the name for it, but since my motor is really close to my panel over here, that's the only size I need. And what I'll be doing is connecting one side, I'll be connecting one wire to the bottom of the breaker switch on the panel, which is your main pump now. And you're going to connect the other wire to the top side of that breaker. So then when you go to the other side, you're going to connect one of the wires to the bundle of wires. So like for example, I've bundled these 3 together. One's going to go to the top of the breaker and the other one is going to go to the live wire coming in from shore power or generator. And typically that is usually going to be your black wire because that is your live wire. The white wire is neutral and then your green wire is ground. So you want the black wire running to the breaker switch. So hopefully that kind of makes sense. It can be 2 individual cables, but if you have it in a cable like that, you have 2 nice cables making the run versus 2 single cables. If you wanted to do the same color, just it'd be easier on you. This is how I'm going to do it. That's what I'm going to do. Red going from black to the bottom of the switch, black from the top of the switch coming back into these wires. I've got neutral going to these wires and ground going to Jesse, what you want to do is make sure that your pre-filters are the most accessible piece of equipment because you're going to be replacing these. So this feeder pump threads straight on to the strainer, goes up straight over to the pre-filters. So this is where I'm at right now. I could have gave myself a little bit more room over here and went this way a bit, but what you're going to find is when you first get the system all up and going, even if you put Teflon tape, sometimes you're lucky. I actually got pretty lucky the first time we installed the first water maker. We only had one leak, but usually when you run the whole system, sometimes you'll find 1 or 2 leaks. Unless you did a really good job at adding your Teflon tape where all the threads are, then life is good. So what you want to make sure is all your fittings are accessible and easily unthreadable. So if I moved that pre-filter over to the wall and I wouldn't be able to unscrew everything, I would have had to remove the whole thing just to get at the fittings. So you want to make sure that you can access, as best you can if you can, everything so you can unthread it all. And if you have to add more Teflon tape in the fittings, then you're good. So the next trouble I'm going to have here is the membranes right there. They don't fit in here, but this is the only space I want to put them. I'm going to mount them underneath this piece of wood, right underneath the bed, and I'm going to cut through this wall here. So then they sit kind of like right here and going through that wall. All right, there you have it. Cut through the wall back there, mounted the 2 membranes, and kind of just strapped them up, which that's totally enough. They're not going anywhere. And then just follow the book and plumb it all together. So we have our strainer, goes to our feeder pump, our pre-filters, we have a one-way valve, and here's a boost pressure gauge. And then from there, it goes all the way to the boost pump that then plumbs into the high pressure membranes. So another thing I did, because we live on the boat 24/7 and I monitor everything all the time, is I got rid of the automated freshwater rinse. It's just one of those garden 24-hour or whatever you preset the rinse filter to. It's for watering plants and stuff. So I got rid of that and just plumbed in a ball valve. So when I want to do a freshwater rinse, I just open it. I just have to hook it up to our freshwater side. So I'll just turn it on and it'll pump fresh water through the membranes and give it a nice rinse. I just thought this would have been a simpler system, more reliable, in case I don't have to worry about batteries dying or anything like that. It's just a simple system. I like that way because, yeah, I can just do it anytime. Good access to my filters. I'm gonna house all my other filters down here so I can easily get to them. Now we've got our diverter valve, which is awesome. They even put our name in there. Thanks guys, love you for that. When we turn the system on, here's my TDS meter right in here. So I'll start it at test. I'll have the water at test, and I've just plumbed that straight overboard. And then when this reads the parts per million that I want, I just go over here, turn it to tank, and then we're good to go. The test that drains overboard, I kind of plumbed it all in thinking, oh, it's got to go overboard, because the first, I don't know, like 30 seconds or so, it's a little bit of brackish water that comes in. And that's why you want it to go overboard, so then you get pure water coming into the tank. But I'm having a hard time figuring out how to link 3 tanks together. What I might do is the test water tube, I might link that straight into tank 1, because that's our tank that we do deck showers, and I just rinse stuff, like rinse feet off, and it's dedicated just for that. So now I'm like, the 30 seconds of brackish water that goes into that tank is really not going to matter overall. When I go to tank, it can go to our tanks 2 and 3, and I'll just diverter valve it so when one tank fills, it'll stop filling that side and it'll just drain over to the other one. That's sort of what I'm thinking, how to make 3 tanks work. But it sucks because I've already plumbed it all in and it's perfect. and where I've plumbed it in is under a whole bunch of electronics, so I have to pull all that back up to get to it. So if I can't figure out how to make tanks 1, 2, and 3 all fill with this, then I'll do that, and I think I'll be pretty happy with that. But other than that, really happy with it. I'm really happy that I was able to confine it into this one space. Like I said before, it doesn't matter if it's all over the boat as long as it's all connected the right way. But it is nice, you know, I got our panel, our diverter valve, I got our pre-filters. I can just kind of see it all right here, which it is nice, but not needed. So yeah, don't know what else to say. What do I say? What do I say?
And just say like, yeah, one more thing off the list. We're still making a lot of little improvements here and there, and then I'll tie into what I just said in the kitchen.
Yeah, what she said to finish the video.
No, fair.
And that's one more project crossed off the list. Yes, because this is quite a big one for us to be self-sustainable at anchor. We need water. I love washing the boat and just not having to worry about water. It's a very important kit on the boat, I think. So yeah, on to the next project.